If you have watched any of my videos on drawing insects, arachnids, or botanicals like flowers or leaves, you will notice that I talk about gesture quite frequently. And the thing is, gesture is like this is this flow. It has to do with like the way things move. It has to do with like the motion, and I also have to say that it's something that I feel like I can't say. Like, it's one of those things you can't understand unless you do it, and that's what makes it so difficult to grasp. The other thing is, whenever I personally do gesture drawing, I will study from mostly nude model images. So if you are looking for those, there are people on Gumroad that sell it, and there are people on, I think, Proco's website, and they have models for that purpose, for the purpose of art and from drawing from them. And it's one of those things that it's so hard to explain. One, because the sheer amount of it that you have to do before you can even get good at it. Personally, I think it took me about 2 years of doing it every day until I began to really grasp it, and then I was able to correct a lot of my mistakes with it. I obviously have a lot more to do it with, but the purpose of it more often than not is for drawing living things. I feel like organic things. I mean, I feel like you can make an organic, if that makes sense. But like whenever I think of anything, I think of like a sausage shape. And it's like a sausage shape has this flow to it. You know, it has this. It feels more like an S curve and a C curve kind of put together when it when it's kind of like that. I mean, more often than not, I feel like there's gestural shapes too. But more often than not, when you are doing gesture, you rarely run into straight lines. The reason why I say that is because if you consider anatomy, people may think that bones are straight, but I'm going to be 100% honest with you, bones are never straight. If they were, you would probably like need to get surgery. The reason why I say that, like, there are people who need like hip surgery or like a hip replacement, and that has to do with cartilage being worn down, and basically there's like a sharp burr within the bone that formed somehow, and that's kind of a problem. So you rarely run into using straight lines in gesture, because like you could think of like waves, which I think I got that concept from Proco, but more often than not you'll use a ton of S curves and C curves, and you'll eventually learn how certain things that have to do with not symmetry but opposing S curves and C curves, or opposing S curves, but not just like they're like, they won't be symmetrical. They'll more often than not they'll like follow some other type of flow. Uh, I wish I can think of a really good example. The thing is, I don't talk about a lot of the gesture drawing on YouTube because, one, it will get flagged. Even though the content I make is not for kids, and every time I every time I upload a video, I always have to say, no, this is not for kids. I mean, I don't discuss anything inappropriate, but maybe some of the concepts are a bit not for people who are younger. But I'll leave it up to, well, you get what I'm trying to say. So it's things like that that are a bit frustrating, because I do worry if my content wouldn't get shown if I ever would include that in any way. I couldn't include images that are censored in any way, because more often than not, those parts are also important to gesture. Like, it's not just the main big picture thing. It has to do with everything on the body that can be gestural. And I do cover this with botanicals and insects when I do make those videos. So like, don't think you're missing out. Maybe in the future I would make some other type of course, but it wouldn't be able to be on YouTube because of the rules, of course. The other thing in gesture drawing, ellipses, circles, they do play a part as well. Though in nature you probably will never find a perfect sphere. You'll find like ellipsoids. I believe that's what the Earth is called. I think the Earth is some type of ellipsoid as well. But where I'm getting at with that is that there's like a whole world to understanding gesture before also putting it together with construction. And more often than not, I will jump back and forth between drawing in a gestural way and then kind of switching to my other mode of drawing in a more constructional way. If I did have to offer an example, it would probably be a sausage. Or let me do one other sausage over here. So let me do more twisting. So kind of like this, and I drew like a simplified gesture of our thing, and the thing is I'm going to draw like a pull here and a pull here, and like this point we really can't see it because it's like really thin, it's like the bending point, but the important thing here is that, you know, there are all these ellipses that are eventually kind of getting in a smaller degree as they go to that midpoint. Like, you know, these ellipses that I'm adding are like the construction. Like I did the initial gesture lay-in, then I'm adding the construction, much like I would do for some anatomical thing. I hope I said that word right, but think of like an arm or something along the lines of that, right? I'm trying to make it a bit thinner than the last one. Kind of went a little bit overboard with that one. But do know it can be very frustrating to grasp gesture, but I hate to say it's not a secret. It's just one of those things that you have to do an incredibly painful amount of drawing to begin to grasp it. And I don't mean that from a mean way. I'm just saying that there are a lot of things in the drawing world that you won't understand until you do a ton. I wish there was a shortcut to help explain it, but more often than not, look at example videos as much as you can. Maybe I will make some videos if I ever do get requests for it. But like I said, I may not be able to put that on this channel. I may have to, like, I don't know, make some type of maybe downloadable videos for it somewhere else. But then again, it's extremely difficult to work with models. There's a lot of legal stuff. Like, you have to make sure that they're 18 plus. You have to make sure that you have the right documents, that you can actually use them in any type of work that you do, commonly referred to as like a model release form. There's, you know, the legality of like where you can release them. Like more often than not, the most perfect thing to do would be to have the gesture like an image to the left and you drawing to the right. That was pretty much why I made this application called Drawsome 2. And whenever I do gesture drawing, I would choose a folder. It would play the slideshow to the left, and I would be doing the gestural drawing to the right in some way. But I'm not really sure. I don't really have any example of any body. But if I was to think of one, I keep thinking of, like, usually when it comes to men, they're very bulky, be it more square. I'm not giving a good example, but just think of it like something like that. Like I'm literally just drawing from imagination. I don't have any photos, so it's gonna look like crap. I feel like if I would do gesture, it would be in a much better quality if I had some type of image I could use at the side. But yeah, those are the main things. Maybe I could be wrong, and I will say sometimes you may need to use a straight line, but they may just appear in a very specific use case in which you may be seeing some type of perspective distortion, or maybe like you're drawing a chin, and maybe you'd use a straight line to summarize it. So that could be beneficial, because like certain faces can be more chiseled out than others, so that could be a beneficial method. So I hope this kind of helps give a little insight into how I would handle gesture, even though I can't show anything because of the algorithm and, you know, certain rules and all of that stuff, which is incredibly important. But maybe if I do get enough requests in the future, I would make something somewhere else for everyone's drawing benefit. So thank you for listening to me in this video. If you have a question, please ask below. If you like my video, please like it, and if you like my channel, please subscribe. Thank you for listening. Bye.